Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Deep-
This time we're tackling something I think we can all relate to, employee burnout. But we're not just talking about needing a vacation.
Right.
We're going deeper, like way deeper, into that chronic,
Yeah,
soul-crushing kind of burnout that impacts, well, everything.
absolutely. And the good news is we've got some really solid research to help us out. This study from Business
Oh,
Horizons.
yeah, I was fascinated by this one.
Me too. It's called How to Prevent and Combat Employee Burnout and Create Healthier Workplaces During Crises and Beyond.
And the best part? It's not just theory. It's packed with evidence-based strategies that you can actually use.
Especially relevant after the, few years we've all had.
Oh, tell me about it. Okay, so let's just jump right in. We all know that feeling, right? Complete depletion.
Yeah.
Negative about work. Like nothing even matters anymore.
Yep, that's it. That's the burnout trifecta.
And it's not pretty.
Hmm.
But here's what's really scary, and the study digs into this.
Not just a personal thing, right?
Right.
It has huge costs for companies. Performance plummets. Innovation goes out the window. And get this. Employees are at a way higher risk for some serious health problems.
Like heart disease, right?
Exactly.
That 79% more likely statistic.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for sure.
It really is. So, okay, we know it's bad. But what causes it in the first place?
Well, think of it like this. Every job has these two buckets. One's for demands, deadlines, pressure, those annoying coworkers, all the stuff that stresses us out.
Okay, I'm picturing these buckets.
Right. And then the other bucket, that's for resources.
Huh.
Things like having a supportive boss, some control over your work, opportunities to grow.
Okay, so what happens when one overflows? Which I'm guessing is the demands bucket most of the time.
You got it. When that demands bucket gets too full and the resource bucket's running dry, boom, burnout sets in. The scale tips, and it's hard to get back in balance.
Ooh, I like that visual. The scale tipping. But thankfully, the study doesn't just diagnose the problem. They actually give us 5 evidence-based solutions to fight back.
Right. Let's get into those. So first up, we've got stress management interventions.
Okay, before you say meditation app, because honestly, I've tried them all.
No. We're talking real techniques here.
Yeah.
Things like cognitive behavioral training
CBT.
and mindfulness. Real stuff, backed by science.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but honestly, can those really make a difference when you're in that high-pressure environment? It's not like CBT, you're going to make my deadlines disappear.
True, they're not magic, right. But think of it like this. They give you a toolkit. You learn to handle that stress way better.
So it's not about erasing the stress, it's about handling it better.
Exactly. Like with CBT, you learn to spot those thought patterns, those negative spirals that get us all anxious.
Oh, yeah. That voice in your head saying, you're not good enough, you can't handle this.
Exactly. You learn to rewire how your brain deals with stress. Makes a huge difference.
Interesting. And mindfulness, I always thought that was about emptying your mind.
It's actually the opposite. It's about being present. You notice your thoughts and feelings, but without that judgment.
So it's like you can notice your stress, but you don't let it take over.
Exactly. You create that little space, and then you choose how to respond. It's powerful stuff.
I can see how that would be helpful in those moments where you just feel like you're going to lose it.
For sure.
So CBT, mindfulness, these can help build individual resilience. But what about fixing the workplace itself, those root causes of burnout?
That's where job crafting comes in. This is one of my favorite strategies.
Job crafting. Yeah. All right, I'm listening.
So picture this. You're drowning in emails, right? Totally overwhelmed. With job crafting, you might actually negotiate with your boss.
Negotiate to get less email.
Well, maybe not less email, but to block off a certain time each day just for focused work, no distractions.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Or say you're just not feeling inspired by your projects anymore. You could proactively seek out something new, something that actually uses your strengths.
So it's about taking control and making your job work for you.
Exactly. You find those little tweaks that can totally change how you experience work.
It's being proactive. Love it. But it can't all be on the individual, right?
Oh, absolutely not. The study's really clear about that. You need that organizational support too.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Can't put all the weight on one person to fix a broken system.
Right. And that brings us to, I think, the most human element of this whole thing, cultivating social support.
Yeah, we're social creatures. We need that connection, especially when we're stressed.
And that's where managers have such a crucial role to play.
Beyond just, being nice.
Way beyond. It's about building trust, creating space for people to be open, to ask for help without judgment.
So regular check-ins with your team. And not just about their to-do list.
Exactly. You got to ask how they're really doing. Be approachable. Show them you actually care.
It's about seeing people as well people.
And guess what? Research shows that strong social support actually reduces burnout.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. It's not just feel-good stuff. It has
Yeah.
real impact.
Okay, so we've got managing stress, taking ownership, and fostering those connections.
Yeah.
What else can we do to combat this burnout beast?
Well, this next one might surprise you. Engaging employees in decision-making.
Wait, hold on. Won't that just slow everything down? Create chaos?
I know, right? It seems counterintuitive, but think about it. When people feel like their voice actually matters,
Yeah.
they're less likely to feel helpless and cynical.
Which are like the key ingredients for burnout.
Exactly. It's about giving people agency, not just over their tasks, but over the bigger picture.
So it's not just saying, hey, everyone gets a vote on everything.
Right. It's about choosing the right opportunities. Like, let's say a company's making a big change, restructuring, new product, whatever. Instead of just announcing it, they could have open forums. Employees can ask questions, share their thoughts.
Or even those task forces. Get people from different departments involved.
Exactly. You create ownership. You get buy-in instead of pushback.
That's really smart. And you know what? It doesn't have to be these huge decisions either.
Totally. Even day-to-day stuff. Setting goals as a team, figuring out projects together.
It's about collaborating, not just dictating.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in how people feel about their work.
Okay, I'm convinced. But before we move on, can we go back to those stress management things?
Sure.
CBT, mindfulness. I get the basic idea, but I need some concrete examples.
Okay, so picture this. You've got this massive project looming over you. CBT would say, break it down. Smaller chunks, more manageable.
Okay, so instead of a mountain, it's a bunch of little hills.
Exactly. And you know that negative self-talk? I'm gonna fail. I'll never get this done.
Oh yeah, I know that voice well.
With CBT, you learn to question those thoughts. Is it really true? What evidence do you have?
It's like arguing back with that inner critic.
Exactly. And mindfulness. Super helpful for staying grounded when you're freaking out. Even something as simple as mindful breathing.
Wait, just breathing.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You take a few deep breaths, focus on the feeling of each inhale, each exhale. It calms your whole system down.
Sounds way too simple.
I know, right? But it works. It creates that pause button.
A pause button for your brain.
Exactly. You observe what's happening, no judgment. That little space can change how you react to everything.
Okay, I'm going to try that next time I feel myself spiraling.
Let me know how it goes. But remember, it's not all about individual techniques, right?
Right, we need to fix the system too.
And that's where those other recommendations come in. Job crafting, social support, making sure performance management is actually helpful.
Totally. It's about building a culture where people feel, actually good about being at work.
Exactly. Where they feel valued, heard, supported.
We talked a bit about social support for managers, but what can companies do overall, especially now with remote work, hybrid schedules, all that?
It definitely takes more effort, but you can totally do it. Think virtual spaces where people can just connect, like online coffee chats, interest groups, that kind of thing.
Like virtual water cooler moments.
Exactly. And make sure managers are checking in regularly with their teams, not just about work stuff, but how they're actually doing.
Yeah, that human connection is so important.
It really is. And you know what else helps? Celebrating those wins. Big or small, it makes people feel appreciated.
It's about making people feel like they matter.
Precisely. And that goes a long way in preventing burnout.
Okay, so let's shift gears to that last recommendation. High-quality performance management, we've established it's not about the dreaded annual review.
Definitely not.
So what does it actually look like? How can companies make it more developmental, less about judgment?
One big thing is making feedback ongoing. Regular check-ins, not just once a year.
So it's a conversation, not an event.
Exactly. And focus on strengths. What's going well? What are people crushing it at? That boosts confidence and motivation.
Celebrate those wins.
Yes. And when there are areas for development, frame it constructively. Guidance, not criticism.
It's about helping them grow, not making them feel bad.
Right. And that can actually reduce burnout because people feel supported.
I love this approach. It's so much more.
Human.
It is, right. And it all ties back to that idea of creating a workplace where people actually want to be.
Where they feel valued, motivated to thrive.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Understanding burnout, finding solutions, both individually and for organizations.
And I think the big takeaway is there's hope. This isn't inevitable.
That's huge. We actually have power here. We can build resilience, push for change in our workplace.
Absolutely. It's not just about surviving work. It's about thriving there.
I love that. Okay, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
For sure.
And hopefully they're feeling inspired to take action, whether it's trying out some of these strategies or speaking up for their well-being.
Remember, even small changes can have a huge impact.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into burnout prevention.
My pleasure.
We hope you found it helpful. Until next time.
Totally. It really is about changing the whole vibe, from fear and judgment to actually working together, growing together.
Like performance reviews could actually be something you look forward to. Wild. I think this whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. Burnout is way more complex than I ever realized.
Oh, for sure. So many layers.
And so many ways to tackle it, both personally and, like, as a company.
It's a whole system, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, what do you think is the most important thing to take away from all this?
That's a good question. I think it's this. Burnout is not inevitable. Like, we actually have more control than we think.
Ooh, like that.
We can build our own resilience, but we can also push for changes at work. We don't have to just accept it.
It's about taking back that power, right?
Right.
Creating a work life that's both fulfilling and sustainable.
Exactly. And not just surviving.
I love that word, thriving. So we've covered a lot of ground today, but hopefully our listeners are feeling, I don't know, a little more hopeful.
Yeah, there's definitely hope. There are things we can do, both as individuals and as organizations.
Absolutely. Concrete steps to prevent and combat this whole burnout thing.
And it's a journey, but it's worth it.
Totally worth it. To create a work world where everyone feels valued, supported, ready to do their best work.
Exactly. And it's not just good for the people. It's good for business, for communities, for everyone.
So well said. All right. I think we've given everyone plenty to think about.
For sure.
And hopefully some inspiration to take action.
Definitely.
Whether it's trying these strategies themselves or, just speaking up for what they need.
It's all about taking that first step, right?
Yes. And even small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again for joining us on this deep dive into burnout prevention.
Always a pleasure.
We hope you found it helpful. And until next time.
It really is. It changes everything. And, you bring up a good point.
Yeah.
About high-quality performance management being like a game changer.
Totally. Instead of dreading those conversations, you actually, you look forward to them.
Right, because it's about growth.
Yeah, it's about getting that support and seeing that progress.
Exactly.
I think this deep dive has been amazing. Burnout is...
Oh, yeah.
It's so much more than I even thought it was.
It really is multifaceted, like you said.
And there's so much we can do about it.
There really is.
So for our listeners out there, what do you think is like the key takeaway?
That's a great question. For me, I think it boils down to this. Burnout is not inevitable. We actually have way more power than we think.
I love that. That's so empowering.
Right. We can build our own resilience, like we talked about with those strategies.
Yeah.
But we can also push for change in our workplaces, in our system.
We don't have to just sit there and take it.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming that control, right? Creating a work life that is fulfilling but also sustainable. You don't have to burn yourself out to be successful.
It's about thriving.
Yes. Thriving, not just surviving.
Okay. So much good stuff today. But I really hope our listeners are walking away feeling, I don't know, a little more hopeful.
Yeah, I hope so too. There is hope, absolutely.
We don't have to just accept this as the norm.
Exactly. There are real concrete things we can do as individuals and as companies to prevent this, to combat it.
It's a journey.
It is, for sure.
But it's so worth it to create that kind of work world where everyone feels valued, supported, ready to, do their best work.
Exactly. And I think that's something worth striving for.
Absolutely. Because when people are thriving, it's not just good for them, it's good for the business, for their communities.
It's good for everyone.
So well said. Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on today.
I think so too.
And hopefully some motivation to take action.
Yeah, take that first step, right?
Try those strategies, advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
Speak up for what they need.
And remember, even small changes
can
make a huge difference.
Such a good point. Well, thanks again for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
We had a blast talking about burnout prevention, and we hope you found it helpful. Until next time.